Pressure isn't your enemy. It's your training ground. While the world breaks under the weight, you're being built by it. Hard times don't crush the strong. They reveal them. There's a reason diamonds don't form in comfort. They're created under crushing pressure, shaped deep beneath the surface. Unseen, unnoticed, and unfinished until the process is complete. The same is true for people. The strongest leaders, the boldest creators, the most unshakable men and women you'll ever meet, they weren't built in the good times. They were forged in the fire. They were refined in the struggle. They found their power because they were tested. We all say we want to be strong, but most of us run from the very things that make us strong. We pray for clarity and reject the confusion that leads to it. We ask for confidence and avoid the setbacks that build it. Pressure isn't here to ruin you. It's here to reveal you. Every person who has done something extraordinary didn't rise because life was easy. They rose because pressure forced them to. When you feel the weight of expectation, the demands of responsibility, and the resistance of obstacles, that's not failure. That's training. That's the internal gym where grit is built, where mental strength is shaped, where leadership is born. Most people misunderstand pressure. They think it's a sign they're in the wrong place. But the truth is, pressure is a signal you're stepping into something bigger than yourself. You don't grow by repeating what's comfortable. You grow by confronting what's difficult. Look around you. The people who collapse under stress are often the ones who never gave pressure a purpose, but the ones who channel it, who use it to sharpen their focus, amplify their discipline, and clarify their mission. Those are the ones who rise. Pressure forces you to choose and give in or grow. There is no in between. It will break the version of you that's too small and demand the emergence of the one that's capable. But that version only comes out under pressure. You don't develop confidence when everything goes your way. You develop confidence by surviving what should have taken you out. Pressure strips away the unnecessary. It reveals what truly matters. It isolates what's essential from what's optional. That's why it's so uncomfortable, because it's exposing weakness and calling out distractions. It's showing you what needs to change, not to shame you, but to strengthen you. If you're never tested, you never grow roots. and without roots, you don't last. You may rise fast, but you'll fall just as quickly. Pressure isn't here to slow you down. It's here to deepen your foundation, to forge endurance, to harden resolve, to prepare you for the weight of your future. In the pressure, you discover things about yourself that success never showed you. You learn how to keep going without applause, how to stay grounded when you're misunderstood, how to stay focused when everything around you is uncertain. You stop relying on ease and start depending on discipline. You realize you're capable of far more than you thought. Not because things got easier, but because you got stronger through the strain. When life is smooth, most people don't think deeply about who they are. They don't question their habits, their mindset, or their values. Comfort has a way of blinding us. It wraps us in routine, numbs our urgency, and dulls our edge. But when things go wrong, when life knocks you off balance, suddenly everything becomes clear. Struggle doesn't just interrupt your life, it unmasks you. It shows you how you respond when you're tired, when you're afraid, when nothing is certain. It exposes the cracks in your character and reveals the strength you didn't know you had. You can't fake who you are when pressure hits. The masks come off. The ego crumbles. The noise fades. What's left is raw, unfiltered truth. And it's in that truth that transformation begins. The uncomfortable reality is that comfort hides our weaknesses. It covers our blind spots with the illusion of progress. But pressure forces you to confront them. It demands that you evolve or stay stuck. It doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't care about your excuses. It pulls out the version of you that's been buried under fear, hesitation, and routine. Tough times have a strange way of refining your identity. You stop defining yourself by what you have and start discovering who you are when everything's on the line. You start to see what really drives you, not just your dreams, but your discipline, not just your goals, but your grit. It becomes less about how things look and more about what you're becoming. When life gets hard, the fragile parts of your identity start to fall away. You stop pretending. You start confronting. And in that confrontation, strength is born. It's easy to say you're confident when everything's going your way. It's easy to act resilient when you're not being tested. But real growth happens when you're forced to choose who you'll be without guarantees, without applause, without comfort. And that choice is where our identity is forged. The pressure doesn't just show you your current self. It gives you access to your future self. The one that's wiser, sharper, and unshaken by the things that used to intimidate you. That version of you isn't built by success. It's revealed by struggle. In uncertain times, most people freeze. They wait. They stall. They look around, hoping someone else will take the lead. Someone else will make the hard call. Someone else will carry the weight. But the truth is, the greatest leaders don't emerge when everything is stable. They rise when everything is shaking. Uncertainty is the soil where real leadership grows. It forces you to make decisions without guarantees, to act with clarity in the fog, and to move forward even when the path isn't fully visible. Leadership isn't about titles or plans. It's about courage under pressure. When everything feels unpredictable, the world doesn't need people who panic. It needs people who can remain steady. Leaders don't have all the answers, but they have something more powerful, the ability to move forward without them. They stay calm when others are overwhelmed. They ask the right questions when others are frozen by fear. And most importantly, they take action when others are still waiting for motivation to show up. That's the difference. Leadership in comfort is easy. Leadership in chaos, that's real. That's what builds trust. That's what changes things. We've been conditioned to believe that we need to have everything figured out before we begin. The perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect resources. But leadership is rarely about perfection. It's about movement. In moments of uncertainty, people aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for someone who's willing to go first. Someone who's bold enough to take the first step even when the outcome is unclear. Someone who's brave enough to say, we may not know what's coming, but we're not standing still. Hard times create the opportunity for leaders to show who they really are, not by dominating others, but by lifting them, not by shouting louder, but by seeing further. True leaders turn uncertainty into focus. They transform fear into strategy. They become a compass when everything else feels like a storm. That's not a role you wait for. That's a decision you make. You don't need permission to lead through uncertainty. What you need is clarity of purpose, strength of character, and the willingness to keep going when everything else says stop. When pressure hits, most people panic. Their vision blurs, their priorities scatter, and their minds race in 100 different directions. But here's the true thing. Pressure is not just a test of endurance. It's a tool for clarity. It removes the noise, the fluff, and the unnecessary. It strips you down to what actually matters. In moments of intense pressure, you begin to see with sharper eyes. The distractions that used to seem urgent suddenly become irrelevant. The things you thought were important fade into the background. All that's left is the mission, the responsibility, the real reason you started. Clarity doesn't always come from silence. Sometimes it comes from chaos. When things are falling apart, you're forced to choose where to focus. You no longer have the luxury to juggle everything. You have to zero in. And in that narrowing, your purpose becomes clearer than it's ever been. You stop trying to do everything and you start doing what actually moves the needle. Pressure has a way of cutting through the lies we tell ourselves about our time, our energy, and our priorities. It demands honesty. It demands decisions. But to get that clarity, you can't panic. Panic clouds judgment. Panic makes you reactive instead of proactive. And the moment you panic, you stop thinking clearly and start making decisions out of fear. That's why the people who succeed under pressure aren't the ones who never feel it. They're the ones who know how to breathe through it. They know how to slow down their thinking when everything around them is speeding up. They know how to ask better questions, not just chase faster answers. They stay present, grounded, focused, because clarity comes to those who can keep their head when the storm hits. And once clarity arrives, it changes everything. You no longer waste time on opinions that don't matter. You stop chasing goals that don't align. You stop comparing yourself to people who are not on your path. Pressure gives you the gift of alignment between who you are, what you value, and what you're working toward. It forces you to act with intention, not just momentum. And that kind of focused, pressure-forged clarity is what separates people who drift from those who build. It becomes a filter for your time, your energy, your decisions. Not because life got easier, but because your vision got sharper. Most people think growth happens in comfort. When the environment is stable, when everything is predictable. But true growth doesn't begin until you're pushed beyond your limits, until the pressure becomes so intense that staying the same is no longer an option. That's when transformation starts. Pain, resistance, and pressure aren't signs that you're doing something wrong. They're proof that you're in the process of becoming someone stronger. Just like muscles don't grow without strain, character doesn't develop without challenge. It's through struggle that we build resilience. It's through pressure that our capacity expands. When everything is working in your favor, there's no need to dig deeper. You can coast on your current level. But the moment pressure rises, you're forced to adapt. You're forced to find new tools inside yourself. You become creative. You become resourceful. You develop patience, discipline, and emotional control. These are not traits you read about. They're traits you earn. And you earn them when life doesn't give you a choice. Pressure pushes you to operate at a level beyond what's familiar. And in doing so, it rewires the way you think and lead. The greatest advantage pressure gives you is that it forces you to find strength you didn't know you had. You don't realize how much you're capable of until you have no other option but to show up stronger. Growth isn't a straight line. It's forged in difficulty, sculpted in pain, and tested in setbacks. That's why the people who embrace pressure always outlast the who avoid it. Because while others are running from discomfort, they're being sharpened by it. They're turning every challenge into training, every setback into feedback, every obstacle into an opportunity to level up. And over time, something powerful begins to happen. You stop resenting pressure. You start to respect it. You understand that it's not there to crush you. It's there to shape you. The person you become on the other side of pressure is more focused, more durable, and more prepared to handle success when it comes. You become the kind of person who doesn't break in hard times. You build in them because once you've grown under pressure, you stop fearing it. You recognize it for what it truly iced you, a signal that you're in the right place, becoming the right person. There's a reason why pressure separates the average from the unstoppable. It doesn't just test your ability to endure. It reveals your willingness to act. In moments of adversity, when everything feels uncertain and fear starts whispering lies in your ear, the easy option is to wait. Wait for things to settle. Wait for the perfect timing. Wait until you feel ready. But pressure doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards action. Bold, imperfect, committed action. The kind of action that says, even if I'm unsure, I'm still going forward, because motion creates momentum, and momentum transforms pressure into power. When the weight feels overwhelming, most people start making excuses. They start pointing to external circumstances, blaming timing, blaming conditions, blaming everything but their own decision to stay still. But the ones who rise are the ones who understand that action is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Action is how you take control in chaos. It's how you regain confidence when fear creeps in. Every step you take under pressure becomes a declaration that you are not defined by what's happening to you, but by what you choose to do in response. The most powerful breakthroughs don't happen after pressure ends. They happen during it. In the middle of the storm, when you decide to act anyway, when you make the call, launch the idea, say the hard truth, take the risk. Not because the timing is perfect, but because waiting would cost more than failing. That's where real power lives in your ability to act when others freeze, to step when others stall, to lead when others hide. It's not about reckless movement. It's about deliberate, disciplined forward motion, especially when it's hardest. Pressure demands that you become more than just a thinker. It demands you become a mover, a doer, a builder, because ideas without execution die under pressure. Only action turns pressure into progress. And every time you choose to act under pressure, you rewire your brain. You begin to see pressure not as a barrier, but as a catalyst. You learn that courage is not the absence of fear. It's the ability to move with it, through it, despite it. The more you act under pressure, the stronger your identity becomes, the sharper your vision becomes, and the more unstoppable your momentum becomes. A comment below: pressure builds me. A like if you're using hard times to level up. A subscribe if you're done avoiding the weight and ready to turn pressure into power.